My cousin Amber had a habit of kissing every boyfriend I brought to family weddings, until the day I showed up with a new guy who just happened to be her probation officer. I'm Megan, and before you ask, yes, I actually did this. And no, I don't regret it. Let me explain from the beginning. My cousin Amber had been the family's golden child since we were kids. Perfect blonde hair, perfect smile, perfect grades, things our grandmother constantly praised. But there was something no one wanted to admit. Amber had a pattern at weddings. At every single family wedding, without exception, she would somehow end up alone with my boyfriend and kiss him. Not a quick, friendly peck. I mean full-on making out, in coat closets, behind the venue, inside parked cars, anywhere she could get privacy. The first time it happened, I was 19. His name was Tyler. We had been dating for 8 months, and I was completely in love in that intense, overwhelming way people often are at that age. My cousin Jenna was getting married at a large outdoor vineyard in Napa. Tyler wore a suit for the first time in his life, and I remember thinking he looked like someone I could build a future with. During the reception, Tyler told me he was going outside for some fresh air. He had been drinking a little and said he felt dizzy. I was dancing with my Aunt Patricia, so I just nodded. 20 minutes later, I went looking for him. I found them behind the wine cellar building. Amber had her hands in his hair, Tyler had his hands around her waist, and they were kissing like nothing else existed. When I gasped, they immediately separated. Tyler looked confused. Amber looked directly at me with an expression I will never forget. Not guilt, not regret, just a small, satisfied smile. "Oh my God, Megan," she said, touching her lips as if wiping away proof. "I am so sorry. He came on to me. I swear, I tried to push him away, but he was so persistent." Tyler immediately began apologizing. He said he was drunk, that he didn't know what had happened, that Amber was lying and she had pulled him outside. I stood there in my lavender bridesmaid dress, $300 I didn't really have, and felt like my whole body was shutting down. My mom found us. Then Jenna, the bride. Then Jenna's new husband. Suddenly half the wedding crowd was standing there while I cried. And here's the problem with family dynamics, especially when you're the quiet cousin and Amber is the charismatic one. Everyone believed her. Tyler probably misread her friendliness, my mother said later during the drive home. Amber would never intentionally do something like that. She's not that type of girl. I broke up with Tyler that same night. Over the next week, he sent me 47 text messages. I blocked him and tried to move on. But Amber's smile stayed in my mind. That small, confident smile that suggested she had won something. The second time it happened, I wondered if maybe I had misunderstood the first incident. Maybe I had imagined something. Maybe Tyler really had come on to her and I blamed the wrong person. His name was Chris. I was 22. We had been together for a year and were discussing moving in together. My uncle Raymond was getting married to his longtime partner in a beautiful ceremony in Portland. Chris and I drove there together, singing along to terrible radio songs and talking about our future plans. The wedding was lovely. The vows made me cry. Chris held my hand the entire time. At the reception, I went to the bathroom. When I came back, Chris wasn't at the table. I checked the bar, the dance floor, the outdoor patio. Eventually, I found him in a hallway near the kitchen. Amber was pressed against the wall with one leg around his hip, and they were kissing. This time, I didn't gasp. I just stood there silently. When they finally noticed me, Amber did the same performance. She touched her lips and looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "Megan, I'm so sorry. He told me you two were having problems. He said you were on a break." "We're not on a break," I replied quietly. Chris started stumbling over his words. "Babe, I don't know what happened. She grabbed me and I was trying to push her away." "You had your hands on her," I said. Once again, the family got involved. Amber cried and insisted Chris had pursued her. And once again, everyone believed her, because Amber was Amber and I was just Megan. "Maybe you're choosing the wrong guys," my Aunt Lisa suggested gently. "Maybe you should look at the common factor here." But the common factor wasn't me, it was Amber. The problem was I couldn't prove it. And after Chris, I started questioning myself. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was just picking terrible boyfriends who couldn't resist my beautiful cousin. The third time proved the truth. His name was David, I was 25 and we had been dating for 2 years. 3 weeks before my cousin Michelle's wedding, he proposed to me. I wore my engagement ring that day, a simple gold band with a small diamond he had saved months to buy. David didn't even arrive with me. He had to work that morning, so he showed up just before the ceremony, kissed my cheek, and told me I looked beautiful. During the cocktail hour, I was speaking with my grandmother about wedding plans. David said he was going to get a drink. I watched him walk toward the bar. 15 minutes later, I went to find him. They were in the coat room. Amber's dress was pulled up slightly. David's jacket was on the floor. I didn't cry this time. I simply stared. Amber noticed me first, and this time she didn't even try to hide her smile. She just shrugged. "I'm sorry, Megan," she said, but there was no sincerity in it. David attempted to explain. He claimed she had pulled him in there and he had been trying to leave, but I saw his hand on her thigh. I saw the lipstick mark on his collar. I removed my engagement ring and dropped it on the floor between them. Then I walked away. That was 2 years ago. Since then, I stopped bringing dates to family weddings. I attended alone, sat at the singles table, and smiled politely while Amber arrived with different boyfriends, and everyone admired how perfect she seemed. I stopped dating seriously. I stopped trusting anyone enough to introduce them to my family. My therapist said I had developed trust issues. My best friend Kayla said I needed to confront Amber directly. But how do you confront someone everyone believes is an angel? Then 3 months ago, something interesting happened. I was working on my laptop at a coffee shop near my apartment when I overheard 2 women talking at the table next to me. One of them mentioned Amber's name. It's not a very common name in my city, so it caught my attention. Then she said, "Yeah, Amber Westbrook. She's on probation. Can you believe it? She always seems so put together." I froze. Amber Westbrook, my cousin, on probation. I leaned slightly closer and listened. The woman speaking was a court clerk discussing her workday. She mentioned fraud charges, community service, and regular check-ins with a probation officer. My perfect cousin was on probation. When I got home, I did what most curious people would do. I searched the internet for everything I could find. After some digging, I discovered the truth. 6 months earlier, Amber had been charged with credit card fraud. She had been using fake credit cards to buy designer clothes and expensive jewelry, the things that made her appear successful. She pleaded guilty and received probation instead of jail because it was her first offense. Apparently, she cried convincingly in court. No one in the family knew. She had kept it completely hidden. I sat in my apartment staring at the court documents on my screen, and something inside me shifted. For the first time in years, I had leverage, but I didn't know how to use it. Then my cousin Rachel announced her engagement. The wedding would take place in 3 months. When the invitation arrived, a thick cream card with gold lettering, I almost threw it away. I had already decided not to attend. But then I thought about Amber. I imagined her arriving at Rachel's wedding with a new boyfriend, smiling her perfect smile, probably already choosing which groomsmen she would flirt with. And suddenly a thought came to me. What if I brought someone she couldn't touch? What if I brought her probation officer? The idea sounded ridiculous, completely absurd. But once it entered my mind, I couldn't ignore it. I spent 2 days trying to convince myself not to do it. It felt petty, extreme, maybe even a little risky. But the more I considered it, the more determined I became. First, I needed to meet her probation officer. After more searching, I found his name, Officer Marcus Brennan. He worked for the county probation department. I even found a photo from a community outreach event. He looked to be in his mid-30s, with dark hair and a serious expression, the kind of face that suggested discipline and authority. Now I just needed to meet him. I'm not. Officer Brennan's expression stayed neutral. And you believe bringing her probation officer to a wedding as your date will somehow, what? Stop her? I think it will make her uncomfortable enough that she won't try anything, I said. And honestly, after what she's put me through, she probably deserves to feel uncomfortable. He shifted the folders in his arms. Megan, what you're suggesting is using my professional position to intimidate someone. That isn't appropriate. She's not a good person, I replied. And I'm not asking you to threaten her or even mention her probation. I'm only asking you to attend a wedding as my guest. If she happens to feel uneasy because you're there, that's her reaction. Why would I agree to this? It was a fair question, and I had already considered it. Because I'll donate to the probation department's youth outreach program. $500. His eyebrows lifted slightly. You're trying to bribe me. I'm offering to support a good cause in exchange for a few hours of your time. You don't have to do anything improper. Just attend, have some cake, maybe dance with me once or twice. That's all. He studied me quietly for a moment. This is the most unusual request I've ever received. Is that a no? I didn't say that. My heart jumped. So you'll think about it? I'll consider it, he said carefully, but I'm not making any promises. He gave me his email address and asked me to send the wedding details. He said he would let me know within a week. I left the county building feeling like I had either done something clever or something incredibly foolish. 5 days later, I received an email. Against my better judgment, I'll attend the wedding with you. Ground rules. We maintain appropriate boundaries. I won't discuss Miss Westbrook's probation case, and if she asks why I'm there, we tell the truth. You invited me as your date. I won't lie or mislead anyone about my presence. If you agree to these conditions, send the wedding details. I read the email 3 times. Then I transferred $500 to the youth outreach program and sent Officer Brennan the wedding information. This was actually happening. The next 2.5 months felt surreal. Marcus, he told me to call him that outside official settings, and I exchanged a few more emails. He asked about the dress code. I forwarded the invitation details. We agreed to meet for coffee a week before the wedding so we could at least talk normally before attending together. Meanwhile, I RSVP'd to Rachel's wedding with a +1. My mother called immediately. You're bringing someone? She asked with surprise. Who? A friend, I said vaguely. His name is Marcus. A friend or a boyfriend? We'll see. I could hear the smile in her voice. I'm glad you're not letting what happened with David stop you from meeting people. I felt a brief wave of guilt, but then I remembered Amber, and the feeling faded. I didn't tell anyone else in the family. Not my dad, not my sister Emma, not even Kayla. I was worried that if I said it out loud, I might lose my nerve. The coffee meeting with Marcus was less awkward than I expected. He arrived wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, looking far less intimidating than he had at the county building. We talked about ordinary things. I told him about my job as a graphic designer. He explained why he became a probation officer. My brother was arrested when he was a teenager, Marcus said, stirring sugar into his coffee. It changed everything. The officer supervising his probation actually cared about him and helped him get into trade school. What does he do now? He's a welder, Marcus replied. Doing really well. That's part of the reason I chose this career. I felt another pang of guilt. Here was a genuinely decent person, and I was involving him in a plan to get back at my cousin. You're having second thoughts, Marcus observed. How can you tell? You've been staring at your coffee for 3 minutes without taking a sip. I looked up. Is what I'm doing terrible? He thought about it. Do you want my honest answer? Yes. I think your cousin probably deserves to feel uncomfortable at this wedding, he said. But you should also prepare for this not to go the way you expect. Revenge rarely feels as satisfying as people imagine. You sound like my therapist. I spend a lot of time around therapists, he said with a slight smile. But I already agreed to go with you, so we might as well follow through. He paused. Just promise me one thing. What? If things get out of control, we leave. I'm not interested in being part of a major family conflict. Deal. We shook hands. His grip was firm and warm. The week before the wedding, I went dress shopping with my sister Emma. She's 3 years younger than me, still in college, and mostly unaware of the situation with Amber because she had been studying abroad when most of it happened. So who's this Marcus guy? She asked, while I tried on a deep blue dress. Just someone I've been seeing. Mom says he's a friend. We're figuring it out, Emma grinned. Is he attractive? I thought about Marcus's serious eyes and the way he smiled over coffee. He's interesting. That's not an answer. Fine. Yes, he's attractive. And Amber will be at this wedding. I paused. Emma continued, I might not have been around for the Chris situation or the David one, but I remember Tyler. I remember the way Amber looked at you afterward like she'd won something. Her voice became quieter. I've always thought she did it on purpose. I just couldn't prove it. I turned toward her. You believe me? Of course I do. Amber has always been strangely competitive with you, like she feels the need to prove she's better than you at everything, including stealing your boyfriends. I felt tears sting my eyes. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because I was 17, Emma said, and no one listens to 17-year-olds. By the time I could have said something, you'd stop bringing guys around. She squeezed my shoulder. But if this Marcus guy matters to you, maybe you should warn him about Amber. I already did, I said, which wasn't exactly a lie. I bought the blue dress. It was more expensive than I should have spent, but I wanted to look good. I wanted Amber to see me walk in with someone and feel something, jealousy maybe, or concern. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining different scenarios. Amber pulling Marcus aside and asking why he was there. Amber trying to kiss him and Marcus revealing who he was in front of everyone. My entire family discovering what I had arranged. At 2 a.m, I almost texted Marcus to cancel everything, but I didn't. The wedding took place at a hotel in the city, one of those elegant venues with crystal chandeliers and marble floors. I met Marcus in the lobby. He wore a charcoal gray suit that fit perfectly. When he saw me in my blue dress, something in his expression shifted slightly. You look nice, he said. You too. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Ready? He asked. No, I replied, but let's go anyway. The ceremony was held in a ballroom on the second floor. We walked in together and I immediately noticed people looking our way. My mother spotted me first. Her face lit up when she saw I had brought someone. She waved enthusiastically. Then I saw Amber. She was sitting 3 rows ahead with her current boyfriend, someone I didn't recognize. She wore a pink dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled. When she heard the quiet murmur as we entered, she turned. Her eyes landed on Marcus. For a brief moment, her composure broke. Her eyes widened slightly and her mouth opened. Then she quickly recovered, smiled brightly, and turned back toward the front. My heart was racing. Marcus leaned closer and whispered, "She saw me." I noticed. We sat near the back. The ceremony began. Rachel looked beautiful in her wedding dress, crying as she read her vows. Her fiancé looked at her with complete admiration. It was sweet and genuine, the way weddings are supposed to be. I tried focusing on that instead of Amber sitting 3 rows ahead. After the ceremony, everyone moved to the reception hall for cocktail hour. People mingled while drinks were served. My mother came over immediately. "Megan, and this must be Marcus." She hugged me and then shook his hand. "I'm Linda, Megan's mother. It's wonderful to meet you." "Nice to meet you too, Mrs. Westbrook." "Oh, please, call me Linda." "How did you two meet?" I had prepared for that question. "Through work," I said smoothly. "Marcus was consulting on a project." Marcus nodded. "Technically, not a lie," my mother beamed. "Well, I'm glad Megan finally brought someone to one of these weddings, after everything with David." She stopped herself, but that's in the past. More relatives joined us. My dad shook Marcus's hand and asked about his job. Marcus said he worked for the county, which was true. My Aunt Patricia gave him an approving look. My cousin Jenna, whose wedding had been the Tyler incident, pulled me aside briefly. "He seems nice," she whispered. "Much better than Tyler. Thanks. Just be careful, okay? Amber is here." So I wasn't the only one who noticed the pattern. That meant something. We made it through cocktail hour without problem. Then I noticed Amber walking toward us. "Here she comes," I murmured. Marcus didn't turn around. "Let her come." Amber tapped my shoulder. "Mind if I cut in?" It wasn't really a question. Before I could respond, she had already stepped between Marcus and me. "You don't mind, right, Megan?" Amber's smile was sharp. "I just want to get to know your new boyfriend a little better." Marcus looked at me. I gave a small nod and stepped aside. I watched them dance. I watched Amber lean closer to him, saying something I couldn't hear. Marcus's expression stayed calm and unreadable. My sister Emma appeared beside me. "What is she doing?" "Being Amber." "Do you want me to interrupt?" "Not yet." After what felt like a long time, but was probably only 2 minutes, Marcus excused himself and returned to me. Amber stood alone on the dance floor looking irritated. "What did she say?" I asked. "She asked if we had met before. I told her I just have one of those familiar faces. Then she asked exactly where I work. I told her the county building on 5th Street. He paused. Then she asked if I wanted to step outside later. My stomach dropped. She asked you out? Subtly, yes. What did you say? I told her I was exactly where I wanted to be. Emma laughed quietly. I like this guy. The rest of the reception passed quickly. Amber kept watching us from across the room. Her boyfriend Brandon looked more annoyed as the night went on. My mother kept giving me approving thumbs up from her table, clearly happy that I had finally brought someone to a wedding. Around 10 o'clock, I went to the restroom. When I stepped back into the hallway, Amber was waiting for me. We need to talk, she said. My heart started racing. About what? About Marcus. I know who he is, Megan. He's my date. He's my probation officer. There it was, said directly. I could have denied it. I could have pretended I didn't understand what she meant. But I was tired of pretending. Yes, I said simply, he is. Amber's face turned pale and then red. Are you serious? Do you understand what you've done, bringing him here? You mean bringing my date to a family wedding? I don't see the issue. He could violate my probation for this. For what? You haven't done anything wrong tonight. You've been on your best behavior. I stepped closer. Unless you were planning to do something wrong, like trying to kiss my date. Amber opened her mouth but didn't respond. This is entrapment, she said finally. It's not entrapment. It's just me bringing someone to a wedding, someone who happens to know about your criminal record. I paused to let the words settle. The record you've been hiding from everyone. You can't tell them. I don't need to tell them. You're already terrified they'll find out on their own. I smiled. It felt both cruel and satisfying. How does it feel, Amber, being the one who's uncomfortable for once? I could tell everyone what you did, she said, that you brought my probation officer here to humiliate me. Go ahead. Explain to the family why you have a probation officer. Explain the credit card fraud. Explain why you've been lying for 6 months. She stared at me. For the first time in my life, I saw real fear in Amber's eyes. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because of Tyler, and Chris, and David. And every time you decided to destroy something important to me just because you could. My voice shook slightly. You made me believe I was crazy. You made me doubt myself. You ruined 3 relationships and smiled while doing it. They wanted to kiss me, she said weakly. No, they didn't. I've had years to think about this, Amber. I replayed every situation, and you know what I realized? You waited until they were drunk. You isolated them. You manipulated the situation, and afterward you blamed them. Tears ran down her face, smudging her makeup. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. You meant every part of it. We stood there in the hallway, years of anger and resentment between us. Are you going to tell everyone? Amber asked quietly. About my record? I considered it carefully. No, I said. That's not why I brought Marcus here. I brought him so you would understand how it feels. To spend one night knowing someone could destroy your reputation with a single sentence. To make you too nervous to try your usual behavior. So this is revenge? This is accountability. I walked past her and returned to the reception hall. Behind me, I could hear her quietly crying. Marcus was waiting near our table. Everything okay? Yes, I said. I think it finally is. The rest of the night was actually enjoyable. I danced with Marcus, with Emma, and even with my dad. I drank champagne, ate wedding cake, and laughed at my uncle's terrible dancing. Every time I glanced at Amber, she was sitting quietly at her table, speaking to no one and looking noticeably smaller than usual. Around midnight, Marcus and I left. We walked together into the parking lot, and I realized the evening was ending. Thank you, I said, for everything. You've said that a lot tonight, because I mean it. Want to hear a secret? What? I actually had fun tonight, even with the strange situation involving your cousin. I had fun too. He hesitated for a moment. Would you like to do this again sometime? Without the revenge plan or hidden motives, just dinner or something simple. I looked at him. Are you asking me on a date? I believe we technically already went on a date tonight. I'm asking for a second one. Isn't that ethically complicated considering you supervise my cousin? Amber Westbrook's probation ends in 4 months, he replied. I can wait 4 months. My heart reacted in a complicated way. You want to wait 4 months to take me to dinner? I want to do things properly. And doing it properly means waiting until there's no conflict of interest. He took out his phone. But we can still be friends in the meantime. Friends can text, right? Friends can text. I gave him my number. He saved it, then looked at me seriously. For what it's worth, I think you handled tonight very well. You could have caused a scene or exposed her to the whole family, but you didn't. You made your point and moved on. My therapist would approve. Your therapist should. He walked me to my car and gave me a quick hug that lasted slightly longer than expected. Then he got into his own car and drove away. I sat there for a while, thinking about everything that had happened. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. He seems wonderful, honey. I'm so happy for you. Then one from Emma. That was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. Tell me everything tomorrow. Then a message from an unknown number. It was Amber. I'm sorry for all of it. I know you probably don't believe me, but I am. I'm going to get real help. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied with 2 words, good luck. I didn't say I forgave her. I didn't say we could move forward. I simply wished her luck. Because the truth is, I didn't bring Marcus to that wedding to forgive Amber. I brought him so I would stop feeling powerless, to take control of my own story. And it worked. 3 months later, Marcus texted me. Amber Westbrook's probation officially ended today. Are you free Friday night? I was free. We went to a small Italian restaurant downtown. No family, no complicated motives, no games, just dinner. It was nice, really nice. Marcus talked about a teenager he was helping who was turning his life around. I told him about a logo project I was proud of. We shared tiramisu and debated whether pineapple belongs on pizza. When he walked me to my car afterward, he kissed me. It was gentle and genuine. Nothing like the kiss I once saw Amber give Tyler behind the wine cellar years earlier. I've wanted to do that since the wedding, Marcus admitted. That was 4 months ago. I'm a patient person. We officially started dating after that. I introduced him to Kayla, who immediately approved. We had dinner with my parents, and my mother whispered that she was glad I'd found someone stable and mature. I didn't explain exactly how we met. Some details are better left unsaid. 6 months after Rachel's wedding, I ran into Amber at a coffee shop. The conversation was awkward for a moment before she said, I'm going to therapy now, twice a week. That's good, I replied. My therapist says I have a pattern of sabotaging people I'm jealous of, she said. She laughed softly, but it sounded strained. Jealous of me? I asked. Yes, people admire Amber because she looks successful, but they like Megan because you're kind and genuine. I've always wanted that, but I didn't know how to get it without pulling you down first. She looked down at her coffee. I know you probably don't care, but I wanted you to know I'm trying to change. I thought about all the pain she had caused, Tyler, Chris, David, and every moment I doubted myself because of her actions. I hope it helps, I said, and I meant it. Not because I forgave her or because we suddenly became close, but because I didn't want to carry anger anymore. It was exhausting, and I was ready to let it go. A year after the wedding, Marcus and I moved in together. We adopted a cat named Pancake who behaves terribly, and we love him anyway. We host dinners with friends and visit farmers markets on Sundays. Life feels peaceful. My family still doesn't know Marcus is a probation officer, or that Amber was once on probation, or the real reason I brought him to Rachel's wedding. They believe we met through work, which technically isn't false. Emma knows the full story. I told her one night over wine, and she laughed so hard she cried. You're clever, she said. I had no idea you had that side of you. Neither did I. Are you ever going to tell Mom and Dad? Maybe someday, or maybe not. Does it really matter? I guess it doesn't. The important thing, I said, is that everything turned out the way it needed to. I didn't bring Marcus to that wedding expecting a happy ending. I brought him for closure, for the satisfaction of seeing Amber uncomfortable for once, and for the feeling of being in control rather than the victim. But somewhere along the way, between cocktail hour, slow dances, and that quiet conversation in the parking lot, something genuine happened. Something I hadn't planned. I developed feelings for the man I had essentially bribed to be my fake date. And 4 months later, once the ethical concerns and conflicts of interest were gone, he admitted he felt the same way about me. Last month, Rachel came over for dinner. We were sitting on my balcony drinking wine while Marcus grilled vegetables inside. Can I ask you something? Rachel said. Sure. That night at my wedding when you arrived with Marcus, did you know Amber was on probation? I looked at her carefully. Why do you ask? Because I saw her expression when she noticed him, and I saw her face after she spoke with you in the hallway. She looked terrified. Rachel swirled her wine glass. And I did a little research because I'm curious and found out Marcus works for the probation department. Rachel, I'm not judging you, she said quickly. Honestly, after what Amber did at my wedding with Tyler, she deserved it. Rachel smiled slightly. I just want to know if you actually planned it or if it was a coincidence. I thought about denying it, but Rachel had always been one of my favorite cousins, and I was tired of hiding the truth. I planned it, I admitted. All of it? Yes. That's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. We clinked our glasses together. Are you going to tell anyone? I asked. Are you kidding? She laughed. This secret is too good. I'm taking it to my grave. Then she paused. But seriously, Megan, I'm glad you finally stood up to her, and I'm glad you found Marcus. He's good for you. Yeah, I said. He really is. Marcus came out carrying a plate of grilled vegetables. He kissed the top of my head and sat beside me, completely unaware that Rachel and I had just been discussing the truth about how we met. What are you two talking about? He asked. Wedding stories, Rachel said with a grin. Ah, the best kind. We ate dinner on the balcony as the sun set, talking and laughing. And at that moment, I realized something important. For years, I had been hurt by Amber. I had spent so long feeling like the victim in my own story that I forgot I could change the ending. I forgot I could take control. That night, at Rachel's wedding, standing in the hallway while Amber cried and realizing she was finally afraid of something I had done, I felt powerful for the first time in years. But this moment felt better. Sitting on my balcony with Marcus and Rachel, enjoying good food and wine and feeling genuinely happy, that felt better than power. That felt like peace. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Cousin Danielle's engagement party next month. Are you and Marcus coming? I showed the message to Marcus. What do you think? He asked. I think we should go as an actual couple this time, I said. No hidden motives. Sounds good to me. Later that night, after Rachel left and Marcus and I were getting ready for bed, he asked, Do you ever regret bringing me to Rachel's wedding the way you did? I thought about it carefully. No, I said honestly. Maybe I should. Maybe it was petty and a little vindictive, but I don't regret it. Why not? Because it gave me closure, and it gave me you, and it made Amber finally face consequences for once in her life. I climbed into bed beside him. She's in therapy now, you know, actually working on herself. I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't pushed back. So you're taking credit for her personal growth? Not at all, I said. I'm just taking credit for standing up for myself. What she does with that is her responsibility. He pulled me closer. You know, Marcus said, when you first approached me in that county building, I thought you were completely crazy. I probably was. But also brave, he said. It takes courage to fight back, even in unusual ways. Or stupidity. Sometimes those are the same thing. That night, I fell asleep thinking about all the versions of myself I had been. The heartbroken 19-year-old who saw Tyler kissing Amber. The devastated 22-year-old who found Chris in the hallway. The broken 25-year-old who dropped her engagement ring on the floor. And finally, the 28-year-old who decided she'd had enough. I still don't know if what I did was entirely right. Using someone's probation officer as part of a plan probably crosses an ethical line. But I do know one thing. Amber never tried to kiss another one of my boyfriends again. And Marcus turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. So maybe some revenge plans really do lead to happy endings, or at least unexpected ones. Except the story didn't end there. 2 months after that conversation with Rachel, I received another message, this time from Amber. I'm getting married. I know we're not close, but you're still family. I'd like you to come, and I'd like to apologize in person. I stared at the message for a long time. Marcus looked over my shoulder. What are you going to do? I'm not sure. Do you want my advice? Always. Go. Not for her, for you, so you can close this chapter completely. He was right, so I RSVP'd yes. +1. 3 months later, I walked into Amber's wedding wearing a burgundy dress with Marcus beside me. Amber saw us and smiled. Not her old perfect smile, a real one. She approached us during cocktail hour with her fiancé, a quiet man named Andrew who worked as a teacher, and looked at her with genuine admiration. "Thank you for coming," Amber said. "Both of you." Marcus nodded politely. Amber looked directly at me. "I've wanted to say this for a long time. I'm sorry for everything I did to you, for Tyler, Chris, and David, for making you doubt yourself, for being cruel because I was jealous and didn't know how to deal with my own problems." "Okay," I said. "I don't expect forgiveness," she continued. "I just wanted you to know I'm sorry and that I'm trying to change." Andrew gently squeezed her hand. "She really is." I studied Amber carefully. She seemed different, less perfect, more genuine. "I appreciate you saying that," I told her, "and I hope things work out for you." She hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. That night at Rachel's wedding, when you brought Marcus, did you do it to hurt me?" I could have lied, but there was no reason to. "Yes," I said. "I wanted you to feel what I had felt." "Did it work? What do you think?" She gave a small, sad smile. "It did. I was terrified that whole night, and afterward I realized I had become someone I didn't like. That's why I finally got help." She paused. "In a strange way, you bringing Marcus might have been the best thing that ever happened to me." I didn't know how to respond. Marcus cleared his throat. "I think the ceremony is about to start." We moved toward the main room. As we walked away, Amber called out, "Megan." I turned. "I'm really glad you're happy," she said. "You deserve it." The ceremony was beautiful. Amber cried during her vows, real tears that smudged her makeup. Andrew looked at her like she was the most important person in the world. It felt genuine, very different from the Amber I grew up with. Maybe people really can change. Not always, not completely, but sometimes. During the reception, Marcus and I danced slowly. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I think I finally am." "No regrets about bringing me to Rachel's wedding?" "Not a single one." "Good," he said, "because I've been thinking." He pulled back slightly to look at me. "What would you say if I told you I want to attend more weddings with you?" "Our family does have a lot of weddings," I said. "I'm not talking about other people's weddings." My heart stopped for a moment. "Marcus, I'm not proposing tonight," he said quickly. "That would be strange, but someday soon I want to. I want you to be the bride, and I want to be the guy crying at the altar because I can't believe I got this lucky." I kissed him right there on the dance floor at Amber's reception. When we pulled apart, I noticed Amber watching from across the room. She lifted her glass slightly in a small toast and smiled. A real smile. I raised my glass in return. Then I leaned toward Marcus and whispered, "Ask me later, when it's just us." "That sounds like a spoiler," he said. "I know." He kissed me again. "Fair warning, when I do ask, it will be done properly. A ring, a romantic setting, maybe even some terrible poetry. I can't wait." We danced until our feet hurt, ate too much cake, and left around midnight. On the drive home, Marcus held my hand. "Want to know something funny?" I said. "What?" "If Amber hadn't kissed Tyler all those years ago, none of this would have happened. I never would have looked into her life, never discovered her probation, and never walked into that county building where I met you. So you're saying you're grateful she sabotaged your relationships?" "I'm saying sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead exactly where we're meant to go." That's very philosophical for midnight. I'm philosophical at midnight. He laughed as we drove through quiet streets. 3 months later, Marcus proposed during a sunset hike with a ring that was definitely expensive and a